What's going on, Reject Nation? I'm gonna put this right up here, up front. I'm gonna want you guys to share this video because I have a theory that I firmly believe in. I want you to mark my words. I'm really putting myself out here on this.
Get ready to cut back to this moment in the future.
I really think I'm right about this one.
I trust you.
I really think I'm right about this one. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, okay. So recently, Elizabeth Olsen, aka Wanda Maximoff, she was doing an interview where someone said, is Luke Skywalker gonna appear in this episode of WandaVision? She said, is there gonna be a cameo on the level of Luke Skywalker, Mandalorian Season 2? Will there be some cameo on that level? And not long ago, Paul Bettany was talking about how there's gonna be a big surprise cameo, an actor he's always wanted to work with. It's gonna like really change the direction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you're like combining the quotes of these two actors who are ruining the element of surprise for us. You combine these quotes, you get theories about who's gonna appear in here. And now while there's been a lot of names being thrown around, there's been the same few who have been thrown into the conversation here. And I have a pretty solid belief as to who and why it'll be. So first I wanna talk about the main people who have been mentioned and tell you guys why I don't think it's gonna be them. And then I'm gonna tell you guys exactly who I think it'll be and why. And I feel like you're gonna have a hard time arguing with me on it. Get ready for it.
That's an invite.
Get ready for it. Okay.
It's a challenge.
First one on the list, Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man specifically. Now our buddy Warren over at Cosmic Wonder, amazing guy. I love this guy. I consider him a true friend. He put out a video this morning actually, which is a pretty compelling argument for why he believes Tobey Maguire Spider-Man would appear in WandaVision. Well, he'll be the big surprise cameo. And he's not the only one who thinks that. When I went on social media yesterday, he was probably the top name mentioned. While I think there's, some things you can conclude as to why, especially with the fact of how Kevin Feige said the events of WandaVision will tie into Doctor Strange and ultimately Spider-Man 3. I don't think it'll be him. I just don't think, do you think it'll be him?
No, especially because of that quote. I feel like we already know to expect connective tissue here, and to bring Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire especially, into this world would only be neat. I feel like it seems like he would only want to be getting back home, whereas introducing him in a Spider-Man movie makes way more sense to me.
It makes more sense. It would be a much bigger surprise.
Bigger character impact.
Exactly. And that's the other thing too. I don't know what purpose of a character it would be to have Tobey Maguire, like what purpose would he serve? I can't come up with
It's so
any
Paul Bettany
real
can
conclusion.
work with Tobey Maguire, and they forced it into this show.
I can't think of any real reason Spider-Man would be purposeful for this story. I feel like he'd overshadow. And then the other part that's not really being brought up is that version of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is specifically a Sony property Spider-Man. Now they have a deal worked out with Tom Holland to be here, and so I could see why it'd be perfectly fine to let Tobey Maguire appear in Spider-Man 3. Sony has no involvement with WandaVision.
No.
It's not gonna happen, guys. It's not gonna happen. And then there's already all the reports coming out that like Tobey Maguire hasn't even completely finalized his deal for Spider-Man 3. Whether that's true or not, I just highly doubt that it's him, okay? Highly doubt that it's him. So I want to cross him off the list. So then it gets you to the X-Men, because you got to think about the quote, especially with the way the question was asked to Elizabeth Olsen with the Luke Skywalker level. It has to be an actor who encompasses not just a legacy character, but an iconic performance character as well, right? So it's like, which one of the X-Men is it?
Alan Cummings.
Alan Cummings as Nightcrawler. You spoiled it early, John.
Sorry. It's just too good to let it out of the bag.
Supposedly, Quicksilver is supposed to appear in this series. I don't care if it's Aaron Taylor Johnson or Evan Peters. None of them equal that level of caliber, right? And I don't think any one of those actors is who Paul Bettany's like, man, I've really been waiting to work with one of these guys.
American Horror Story, man.
No insult to those actors. I think they're both great, and I especially love Evan Peters. I just don't think it's that same level of caliber, and I don't think it's that kind of iconic layer that would be as mind-blowing, right?
I feel like that's
a little bit expected. Yeah.
Like it's so important to Wanda, and we've already seen him in previous,
Yeah, so I don't think it's Quicksilver. Like, he can appear in the show, but it's kind of like you have Ahsoka Tano in Mandalorian, you expected that. So let's go through the list of the X-Men, who it could be. Wolverine. Now, my mind actually went, well, I feel like it could possibly be Wolverine. That was the first place my mind went to. Reason being, Hugh Jackman did say that if he were to return as Wolverine, he'd want to be able to team up with the Avengers, or some quote like that, but I'm not, like, incorrectly paraphrasing here. He said something like that. Also, when you think about the fact of how strongly based this is, or inspired by, from House of M, Wolverine was such an important part in that comic. He was essentially the main character, you know, when you think about it. But I feel like a lot of the purpose of his role in terms of helping people, you know, break away from the false reality and such, it seems like a lot of that position is being given to Vision in this series already. I don't think it's going to be him, and I'm not sure how you would smoothly all make that work. I remember that at one point Paul Bettany was supposed to be in Les Miserables, so I know he would like to work with Hugh Jackman. I'm gonna cross him off the list, and another reason why, and I can't really say much about this, and it's not 100% confirmed, but I believe they already found, I'm not gonna say much, but I believe they already found who their new Wolverine is, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. So, all right, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
We'll just move right past that one.
And the other two main X-Men that came to mind were Magneto and Professor X. With those two characters, they seem to be probably the ones that make the most sense between one of those two. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, both iconic portrayals of two very iconic important characters who were very important to the story of Wanda in House of M. I'll start with Magneto first. Ian McKellen, okay? The main reason why I don't think it would be Ian McKellen, even though there's the fact that in the comic, Magneto is Wanda's father, so you could get some story tie-ins with that. Sure, that makes sense to me. You think about Paul Bettany's quote of an actor he's always wanted to work with, and I believe that they worked together in the Da Vinci Code already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they share many scenes directly with each other, but they're both big characters in that movie.
Yes. Michael Fassbender is the other pick for Magneto, obviously. Now, I've already heard a bunch of rumors about how they're looking for Michael Fassbender to play a different character within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the same time, when you're thinking about this level of Luke Skywalker legacy level, backed with an actor that Paul Bettany's always wanted to work with, sure, I could see him always wanting to have worked with Michael Fassbender. He's an amazing actor. Personally, I prefer his portrayal of Magneto over Ian McKellen's. You can hate me for all you want for saying that, but that's just my personal opinion. I still don't think he matches quite that caliber of what we're talking about and what to expect. And rumor has it, they're trying to get Michael Fassbender to play a different character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as much as it would make sense in terms of him being Wanda's father, I don't see how that can naturally segue into a finale cameo of sorts.
Yeah, because then you would just be meeting him for the first time in this context. Yeah.
So then it leads you to Professor X. And after much thought, my mind concluded, I firmly believe it's gonna be Professor X, and here is why. So my mind actually believes, and I have pretty solid reasons as to why I think it would actually be Charles Xavier, and not James McAvoy. They already worked together in Wimbledon. It's not gonna happen. Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier is some of the most perfect casting in all of Marvel history. There's a wide variety of reasons why I believe this. First off, when you look at the House of M, he was the main guy who was like trying to keep Wanda's shit under control. He was the main dude they were using for that. When you're hearing about how they have to open up the door for mutants, Professor X is the main guy to do that for. And here's the other big kicker. This is from an article that I pulled up from movieweb.com that came out January 2021. Patrick Stewart was being interviewed, and he says right here, I met with Kevin Feige a couple months ago, and we had long conversations, and there have been moves and suggestions which include Charles Xavier. Just look at that. Just look at that. Look at that. Okay, so here's what everyone's gonna say to me is the rest of the quote. Here's the problem. If we had not made Logan, then yes, I would probably be ready to get into that wheelchair one more time and be Charles Xavier, but Logan changed all of that. First off, that's not a complete denial. Secondly, even if it is a denial, that don't mean jack shit. It doesn't. Let's just go over a few actors who have flat out lied about being cast in Marvel. You got Paul Rudd. When asked about Ant-Man, he said it's all just rumor, man. Tatiana Maslany, the most recent one, had this whole thing where she's like, that's just some press release that got out of hand, and then Kevin Feige does the Disney Investors Day. He's like, yeah, we got Tatiana Maslany to play She-Hulk, right? Benedict Cumberbatch said that it was just a joke, that he's flat out said, I'm not Doctor Strange.
After denying playing Khan.
Yes. Brie Larson acted oblivious as to who Captain Marvel is. Jonathan Majors, who's recently been confirmed to play King the Conqueror, he was asked about it. He's like, yeah, man, I heard the same thing, bro. Actors denying that they've been cast, and then Paul Bettany saying it has to be someone they kept under wraps and it hasn't been leaked. And on top of that, Paul Bettany, British actor. Patrick Stewart, Sir Patrick Stewart.
British royalty.
British royalty actor. He's an actor that whenever I hear about people working with him, every interview of a co-star is like, he's an actor I've always wanted to work with. It's freaking Patrick Stewart. Yeah. Well, of course Paul Bettany would be in a position to be like, he's an actor I've always wanted to work with, you know? When you tie it into the fact of House of M, the importance of that, opening up the door for mutants, the fact that Patrick Stewart confirmed that Kevin Feige had been meeting with him and they're trying to get Charles Xavier into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and they were specifically trying to get him in there, everything just lines up for it to be him, you know?
You are convincing me actively in these moments.
When you think about like the reality warping, the dimension hopping, the capabilities Professor X has, story-wise, Paul Bettany's quote, Patrick Stewart's confirmation of the meetings, it's Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier, who else is it gonna be?
Well, and especially, hearing yours and many people's theories that this show is going to officially set up the X-Men, it feels like the perfect character to do that with, because too, when you look at the longevity on screen of these movies, literally you go back to the beginning with stuff like X-Men in the early days that really got superhero movies to be taken seriously, and Patrick Stewart was one of the main figures of that, and just him, I feel like being cast in that movie lent it credence at the time, and so you get that legacy factor.
Even just look at Days of Future Past. Who were the characters from past and future who were able to talk with each other? Young Charles and old Charles. Yes. No other crossover happened in that. It was those two who talked with each other. I'm just saying, the one with the power capability, the one that would make the most sense, especially sending at the door when you look at everything that's been confirmed, reported, what Paul Bettany saying, iconic portrayal on the levels of Luke Skywalker, it's Patrick Stewart. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just don't think I am.
I was gonna say, just keep getting ready to cut back to this video.
All right, it's gonna be him. Guys, who do you think it'll be? Do you agree with me? Leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe, click that notification bell, hit that like button. Last but not least, Adelia Chamberlain. I know that out of anyone at our Patreon, the one who would want the ability to rewarp her whole home life right now, it would definitely be you. I want you to know though, that in the current reality you live in, you still have two people here who love the shit out of you. You have meant so much to us. You have been incredibly helpful. I go to bat for you, woman, and I will die for you.
Oh, yeah.
John would immediately die for you.
I'm trying to.
I would question whether or not dying for you, but I probably would if there was a camera pointed at me and I could be famous for doing it. But just know that you rock my socks. You're an incredible friend, and I hope 2021 is a much better year for you, and I hope you're enjoying WandaVision.